Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Virtual Engagement Ideas Summit. Our special guest today is David Klein, all the way from California. And I know David because of the Virtual Ideas community. And we met there a few weeks ago, and I really, we hit it off right away because I'm a camp counselor. David is a coach and camp counselor. And so we bonded over that. And then we bonded over virtual events because we both were put in a position where we were transitioning into the virtual realm. And David took it a step further. So tell us, give a little bit of background about who you are, but then let's talk about what you have created.
Cool. Well, first off, Jason, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed getting to know you, and looking forward to opening up about all things virtual events and ideas and all that good stuff.
Right.
So when this pandemic first hit mid-March, I was concerned, just like all of you, and I was like, how am I going to continue to serve my community? Now, before that, I run a baseball program in person, but I also started a company called America Offline, which is all about how can we create meaningful offline experiences that create connection between people without the uses of technology. So when the pandemic hit, I was like, uh-oh, what do I do now? Like, technology is all we have now to connect. Yeah. So and then it was like, all right, America Offline, we're now going back online. But the values were very much the same. How can we create experiences for kids to play, connect, talk, open up in a meaningful, immersive way so that they are building a healthy relationship with themselves, with others, with the world around them. So I started a program called Quarantines, Teens, and we were doing 1 hour sessions. I had 4 groups going at a time, 4 hours a day, and it'd be about 20 minutes of communication, conversation, fun talking games, getting them to open up about the world, 30 minutes of play, and then we'd end with 10 to 20 minutes or so of exercise. And it was just an outlet for them to socialize. And through that, I believe that I sort of figured out and learned the art of virtual facilitation through making lots of mistakes, a lot of trial and error, experimenting. And fast forward a little bit, now I'm training schools and creating a guide or a resource for people to create these experiences, and it's been a whole lot of fun, but challenging, but a lot of learning altogether. So yeah.
I mean, your background is as a coach and a teacher, and you are running a summer camp this summer, right? You were able to go, and you've got a baseball camp this summer. Mm-hmm. Fun facts about you, like you've also coached overseas, right? You're a traveling coach. Right?
So in 2011, I went out to Israel and I set up my own internship where I was traveling the country, setting up baseball programs, looking to grow the sport out there. Really cool experience. Wound up meeting my wife out there. Got involved with 2 Israel World Baseball Classic teams. And I very much consider myself an experienced designer, but also a holistic coach, helping use the game of baseball primarily, but to help them become the best versions of themselves off the field. So we do all sorts of holistic programming, whether it be leadership or talking about teamwork or any of that stuff. We like to teach that through the game of baseball.
I want to get to the games and the icebreakers and the book that you have created, which I think is just an amazing resource. I have used it. So you are now like the maestro of virtual icebreakers and games and how to bring people together through conversations and ideas. So can you give me an example, or tell me about tell me about the baby you created?
Well, let me just say, at first, it's really funny, Jason, and you probably saw this too. When we first started engaging kids online, it was easier than it is now, in my personal belief and from what I've observed, because the kids at first, they were just really, it was so novel, it was so new. It was like, oh my God, like breakout rooms and chat boxes and virtual backgrounds. And it was like, they were all kind of into it. But then as the spring went on and as we got into April, May, and June, and now it's like, they're pulling their hair out, right? They're going crazy. And so it's like, how can you, what we have to do, we have to evolve with our kids and do things that are more immersive. We can't just talk at the group. They could watch the video about that. So I found that having a variety of things to bring the group in was really important. I never do the same thing with a group twice unless it's really good and they really want it. But I found that there's sort of, I personally have a template that's worked for me for engaging kids. And the way that I start to think about it was, it's kind of like serving up a meal, right? You go for a restaurant experience and you get there and you have a little bit of, maybe some water, some bread and butter, and waiting for, the waiters to get there, or the other people at the meal, kind of like you do on a Zoom call, waiting for people to get there. Then you have sort of like the appetizers. You're sort of warming up the palate a little bit. You're taking the edge off a little bit. You're letting know that they're here to be engaged. They're here to be heard. You're here to have fun and smile, and you're not just here to talk at them. Like, you want to hear their voices. And then that sort of warms you up for like the main course. That's like the meat of it. So if you're teaching, that would be like the main thing that you're trying to get across for the day. That's what you transition into. And then you go with the dessert, a fun way to put a cherry on top to end the session. And then that's how I constructed the cookbook, was that you can go in and you could pick from some of these bread and butter exercises, or the appetizers, or the chips and dip, which are little icebreakery type things. Then you have the main course, which is concepts and different ways to teach curriculum in an experiential way. And then it's dessert, a way to reflect, a way to conceptualize what just happened, or a way to give them something to look forward to the next session. So that's really the template that I've designed, and I found that it works out really well for engaging kids and bringing them onto the online session in a fun way.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make the argument that it works. It works also for adults.
Oh, right? Totally.
Yeah. So I know that you designed it for your campers and the teams that you work with, but really everything in the book, the book that we're calling the cookbook, right? That's how the name you gave to it, which makes a lot of sense, right? So every meeting you can, anyway, and the way the book is designed is super easy to use as well. If we approach all of our meetings with our students, like as advisors in higher ed, and I know you work with a lot of school systems, but in higher ed, it's not that dissimilar, that folks are getting together for these meetings. And it's great to end every meeting and consider it as an event, like a fancy dinner at a restaurant, and finish with dessert, so that everybody's like, wow, that was a great time. I can't wait to do it again. Mm-hmm. Right. And anyway, I'm just telling you that I like your book.
Yeah. Appreciate it. I mean, I think anyone can become a master virtual chef, or at least a confident virtual chef or facilitator. And I find that, and I've seen this a lot with the virtual event ideas community, and I think it's great. And there's a lot of vendors out there, but I really like to challenge anybody out there that at first looks to hire others to see what you could try to figure out yourself, because the technology, particularly like Zoom, is not that difficult. And I understand there might be a little bit of trial and error there, but again, it's not too difficult to learn. And you don't need to be a rah-rah guy like me or you, or even be funny. You can just be kind of clever and crafty in how you do it, and you can really create some, what I call extraordinary or delicious virtual experiences.
Right. Can you give us an example of an appetizer?
An appetizer. This is a new one that I did the other day. I just did Simon Says, and it worked out really well. So I'd basically have everyone back up, and I had them show from head to toe. And what I would do is I muted everybody to start. And what I'd do, I'd be like, all right, so Jason, let's do it together. So back up, Jason. Okay. All right. Simon says, touch your ear. Simon says, touch your other ear. Simon says, touch your nose. Simon says, put your right arm out. Simon says, put your left arm out. Simon says, put your hands up. Now put your hands down.
You're going to get me.
I got you right there. So if you flinch after that, so that you'd be out, I'd unmute you. Okay. And then you would help me pick out the other people who flinched. And after a few rounds, I've done it with adults. I've done it with kids. For adults, it's like, this is like a throwback to when they're in second grade. But it's cool because it incorporates some movement. And I really find that movement, we don't always have to be right here all the time when online. We could send people out of their house. We could send people around their house to go get items, for sharing and things like that. I find that incorporating movement is a good way to break up the monotony, which often characterizes sitting in front of a screen.
Yeah. I mean, you could, in my experience with a lot of higher ed folks, they're in their office at their desk, and to say, hey, we're going to play a game. So everyone push your chair back, stand up, let's get some movement. It does spark the brain, right? You are more engaged after you move your body. Yeah, that's a cool one. Simon Says.
It's really simple. It does the job. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, and like honestly, like if you've done some of these things in person, you just have to sort of think a little bit, or even just experiment. A lot of things you do in person can be modified for the screen.
So you use a lot of reflection and debrief questions as well. That's your sort of heading into dessert.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like experiential learning, that's what you want to do. You want to have them dive in, have a concrete experience, reflect upon it, conceptualize it a little bit, and then sort of apply it moving forward. That's the whole idea. And I think the idea of just talking at kids and just teaching them, throwing up slides, that it's going away, and it's not going to work. And we need to challenge ourselves as coaches, administrators, and educators to break away from the traditional learning environment and learn to engage them and sort of flip the classroom. There's this concept of flipped learning where the kids are sort of teaching each other, right? And it's not always us projecting knowledge onto the kids. They could facilitate their own learning experience if you sort of craft it in the right way.
Right. Very cool. All right. Let's imagine for a second I've got a Zoom room full of 10 people, and I'm the facilitator, and I want everyone to take a turn telling me something. How can I make it go around the room so that, like, if you pass the ball to me and I pass the ball to them, how do I remember who's already seen the ball, right?
So we've done this one before. I thought it worked really good on that little mastermind I hosted. Yeah. So, and I'm assuming let's just say the 10 people don't know each other that well.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to say, everybody get up, and I want you to go get one thing around your house that represents you or your childhood, something that's unique about yourself. And I also want you to grab something that you could put on your head. It could be a hat. It could be a napkin. It could be a paper bag. It doesn't matter.
So I'm going to go get two things. I'll be fast.
Okay.
I'm moving fast. All right. I got it. Okay. All right. I got it.
Faster than you. Okay. Okay. So what we'll do is everyone comes back. They got their silly hats on. And Jason, did you by any chance grab the unique thing about yourself?
Yeah, I got this little thing of Bic whiteout.
Okay.
And it's because I oftentimes write things in pen when I should be writing in pencil because my plans change a lot. So that's why I have this. I can still write in pen and I can change my plans. I'm flexible.
Cool. I like it. I haven't seen a bottle of whiteout, by the way, in about 15 years. So,
right.
And I got my Bruce Bochy bobblehead gnome here. Because, I guess he's not bobbling. But anyways, what I was getting at and why I'm talking about the hats is because you could start it with the hats on or off. But what we would all do is they'd all come back, they have their hats on. And as we go around the circle, instead of the facilitator saying, okay, Jason, okay, Bobby, okay, George, hearing from each individually, what you would do is you would have the participants in the call on somebody else. So for instance, if I was talking, I said, this is my Bruce Bochy gnome. It's unique to me because I got it at my first Giants baseball game with my dad because I love baseball and I love my dad. And I also got a foul ball that day. It was great. Okay, once you're done, you take off the hat and I'd say, hey, Jason, what about you? And
and I would share my thing, and then I would take off my hat.
You would take off your hat, share your thing, call on somebody else. So then it would be complete when everybody else would share their item.
Right. And then you could visually see who has not yet gone.
Correct. Awesome. So it's a way that you can sort of step back as the facilitator and create a more organic live experience where the participants are sort of passing it around. Now, you could also do this with the mute button, and you could also doing it quickly with one tap of turning your video off and turning your video on. So you could you could have everybody turn their videos off, which is a little weird, and then you call on somebody else, and then they when they start talking, they're like, hey, I'm here. And so it's like they've all arrived, and you do it until everyone's arrived.
Hey, how cool is that? You're on a different camera now. Like now I can, no, this is cool. This is actually like now, before I could
It's so weird. It was zoomed in and out. I don't know why that happened.
That's one of the beautiful things about the technology is there's still mystery.
There's still mystery involved.
There's still mystery. So here's the fun thing. Like you just moved into a new house.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe it was in the journey across the town that your computer got a little jostled. But now you look like you're in the brick warehouse. It's cool.
Now I look better. Yes.
All right. That's a cool one to do. And let's see. We did a dessert. We did this cool way to move around the room. What do you do like as people are coming into a space? You're the first one there and people are coming in one at a time.
Cool. So I'm going to my cookbook as we speak to pull out what I call a bread and butter. This is something that people do during that 3 to 5 to 7 minutes when it's a little awkward at the start and people are typically showing up a little bit late. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. First off, what I've been doing as of late, and this is I'm doing this with kids, is I bust out a nickname generator and I have them, I say, Michael over there. All right, Michael, we're going to generate a nickname for you. Or I ask, who wants a nickname? And then they all give 3 adjectives for Michael. He's sweet, he's funny, and he's buff. And then the nickname generator kicks out like all these nicknames. I share my screen. They look at all the nicknames. They laugh. We rename them to Buff Mike, and that's his nickname. And it's just a good way to pass the time and get them laughing. Everyone's communicating. That's a fun one. A very simple one too is kids in particular, and you could do this if you're teaching as well. They love riddles and they love hypothetical questions. So you can put up some riddles or hypothetical questions that you can find online. I also link them in the cookbook. There's a whole bunch of them. Or you have you can go to like eitheror.io, I believe it is, and there's these either ors. It's like would you rather questions, and you just go through would you rather questions. So there's a whole bunch of things you could do. You could also, when they show up, you could have music going. You could just stream music from your computer. You could put up a whiteboard and have people draw. I've put up pictures of presidents and people are drawing funny faces on them and stuff. So it's a kind of way to have them take the edge off and just have fun and smiling and engaging the moment that they get on. So there's a bunch of them for you.
Right. And that's so that it's not just you're not silently waiting like in a waiting room at a doctor's office where you don't know anybody. Right. Right. Even if you don't know them, what you're doing as the facilitator, making it more of a fun waiting room. Right. Yeah.
It's like here's what you don't do. You don't have an online experience and have people show up and you immediately have a slide up. Okay, that's like going and trying to meet somebody without, and diving right into conversation without maybe shaking their hand first.
Right.
We want to actually talk with them, meet with them, hear their voices a little bit.
Right. First. Right. I think one of the phrases that I heard at another conference, and now I've said that I practice it. Okay. So I definitely borrowed this from another camp counselor who was giving a talk. He said connection before content.
That's really good.
It's real easy to remember. Like, just make a connection before you start teaching, or sharing information, or or going over the budget.
Yeah, right? I think so. It's also like a coaching phrase. Like they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Like take a moment to just show them that that you're here to care for them and connect with them as a human being first, and then they'll probably open up, and then you can get the content across to them.
Right. So your cookbook is basically a book full of ideas.
It's basically a book full of ideas, and it's constantly growing. You've given me
because you're adding to it because it exists online, and we'll put that in your bio. We'll put a link to that, how to access that in the bio.
Yeah, it's in Google Docs by design, because that means that if Jason gives me an idea, I can go and I can quickly add that new recipe in there. Right. And it's constantly growing. And now we're also adding video tutorials to it as well. So if you want to really see it, you could really get a quick, see how we're doing charades or Pictionary, you can get a good taste of how it actually goes.
Do you want to use my Simon Says in it? Because I was really good at that.
You were really good at that. I might have to use that. It did fail on the first time, so it might need a little bit of work.
I know. I was trying to, I'm not going to say that I was trying to move it along. I was trying to do it right. Yeah.
I've gotten good at baiting the kids because, I've practiced it a few times now. So.
I mean, you can move that along faster. And anyway, the more you facilitate any one of these ideas, the easier they get. right?
Yeah, correct. And I also like, instead of just going in like giving them like one appetizer or one bread and butter, they get a little bored if you're doing one thing for more than 10, 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
your main course for that day, or your one icebreaker or appetizer, you could maybe do 2 or 3 different ones. And just as they fatigue, just be ready to go to the next.
Right, right. Super cool. So how was let's talk a little bit more about your life out there in California. How's camp going?
Camp is really good. I'm knocking on wood. We've gotten through 6.5 weeks, Jason, with no virus.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
100 kids in a safe way.
Yeah.
Coaches are wearing masks. Families are quarantining.
Yeah.
These kids just love being together.
Yeah.
They're just so grateful to be out there. There's so much good energy. They're coming home really sore because they're using muscles they haven't used in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
But just like the online experience, we're doing the same thing offline too in the mornings instead of getting right into baseball. We're slowing it down because we have these stable groups for 3 weeks, and we're doing duck, duck, goose. We're doing a lot of the games that actually I'm taking down the online games and now taking them offline.
Oh, cool. So, all right. So cool. You now have new in-person games that you picked up by looking for virtual ideas.
Pretty much. I'm just,
That's awesome.
Anything that creates connection, right? And gets kids having fun at a time where fun and laughter and play is more important than ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for all the hard work that you're doing. And your influence in the space. A big round of applause wherever you are right now watching this video for David Klein for everything. And David, thanks so much for being here. Let's give each other a high five. Boom. Good game. Good game.